Thank you for joining us on Sheridan County Ag Update. Today I have with me Galen Chase, the Regional Vice President of the Wyoming Stock Growers Association. Before we get started, I want to say thank you to our sponsors, Heartland Kubota and True Built Builders. We couldn't do this without you, so thank you guys very much. Galen, thanks for being here today.
Hi, Liz. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for asking me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I think it's really important that people know what the Wyoming stock growers are, what you do, and why is it so important to be a part of that?
Well, I think as somebody who's in the cattle business in this state, it's I guess in some ways it's often probably taken for granted what the organization is and what it does, and like you said earlier, and before we went on the air, there's just a little bit of maybe this assumption that everybody knows what it's about, but honestly, the organization exists for the benefit of stockmen, for cattlemen in this state, and it's one of the older ones in the state. It predates statehood. It started in 1872.
Oh wow!
So. Okay. We're at 153 years old now, and there's been times in past history where that a lot of history has been written about the stock growers and various events, as a lot of people will know. But I think what's really important now, I think, is what's the organization doing today, and why is it important, or why should it be important to cattlemen in this state? And that's really why I'm a part of it. The fundamental role of the organization is to protect the interests of cattlemen in the state. And there's all kinds of categories of that it does that through, whether it's judicial or legislative or advocacy, or just basic constitutional rights, educational. There's a variety. I mean, there's a long list of areas that the organization has a focus and spends time on, and it's member driven. We have memberships that are build various kinds of memberships, but depending on how many cattle you might have, it kind of determines the amount of your dues, your annual dues. And then there's opportunities for businesses to join, and businesses who feel like that their business would align with the values or want exposure into the stockmen, so they can get involved. And then there's just some other ways to do that. But all in all, it's if we don't have members, the organization won't exist, and we won't have the voice, I guess, we do in the state for those issues that, if you wanted to, we could talk about. But it's for me personally, it's always been kind of a part of our family operation. Back in the day when we had our ranch and we were members of the stock growers, it was there, and we knew that it was there protecting our rights, and that there was somebody, whether it was in Cheyenne during the legislative session, or during a summer committee meeting, or back in Washington D.C., that we had a representative and a voice advocating for the issues that matter to us as cattle producers, and you name them, it probably comes up. The big one, it's always in the forefront, is public land issues, or environmental issues. I mean, there's not a rancher in this state that doesn't have one of those issues, probably one or the other, among others. Just the reputation of the organization itself kind of precedes it, and it's top of mind when it comes to if it's the governor needing some guidance on an issue related to say whether it's grazing or environmental, he's probably going to call our executive vice president and get some guidance. Ask what's the stock grower's position on this, and that that's not something that every organization is going to have. And I think that there's a close relationship there, and with various legislators, and whether it's here at our local level, one of the representatives or senators, it's important that they know who to call and how to what our position is on that. We also work real well with other organizations, whether it's Farm Bureau or some of the other member organizations as well. But there's a collaboration and there's work because there's different ones and maybe somebody's preferences for a different one. But I think it's important that at the very end of the day, it comes back to what are the interests of the members and how do we protect those and advance them.
You know, it's been a few years since I've been an FFA, but I can remember one of the things when we were practicing our extemp speeches or our prepared speeches, a lot of the topics came from issues that the Wyoming stock growers were dealing with. And those were some of the things that Nick Siddle would have us practice on to be able to have that research and to be able to at least speak on it, maybe not be in depth, but at least be familiar with it.
Right.
And so, you know, maybe give an example of some of the things that you guys help with the legislature. I know you said the public lands, but I think probably the one that is relevant right now is the country of origin labeling that's come up again. Is that something that you guys as stock growers have input on?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's definitely a hot topic and one that creates a lot of conversation and debate. It's one that the stock growers' position on that is that it should, at this point in time, it kind of goes back and forth, but the mandatory labeling of meat, I think, is to be honest with you, I haven't checked on what our official policy is at this right now, but there's some pros and cons both ways, but I think all in all, people want it, want labeling, and they want to know where the meat comes from, and so the position is essentially that we believe it should be there, and how that's done is even from what I've read and looked at, some of the if you just said it was mandatory today, there's some ways around that. So I think you have to really be careful on how that's implemented, and that it truly is born, raised, and processed, and there's not some because it got here 2 weeks before, and now somehow or another it comes from this country.
Right.
So I think our position there is pretty firm on that. We need to know where it comes from. The other one I think is that's creates a little bit, probably not as much in the public mind, but from producers is identification. That, and I think, I know at this point our position on that is that it's voluntary, that producers can choose whether or not they want to use electronic identification for their animals, and frankly, I think that's a good position to have. I mean, our fundamental to our organization are private property rights, and that starts with ability to make your own decisions. So, at this point in time, that's where we're at.
Quality Kubota machinery and customer care from the heart. Proudly serving Sheridan and the surrounding area since 1996. Go online to heartlandkubota.com or stop by Heartland Kubota, 2450 Heartland Drive. Well, great. And I bring up about that because we have our Beef Up the Holidays contest, which is really the idea behind it was to support your local ranchers, support your local beef industry. And I think there's a lot of people who do, but we may have people who've moved into this area that don't know. And I think it's a great educational piece for those folks.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think local producers have it may seem obvious, but I mean, just the idea that somehow or another for somebody moving into this area, when they walk into the store, they may think that it's coming locally, but it's not. It comes in a truck and from some distributorship. So, I think the growth in public awareness and demand for locally raised foods is since the onset of COVID, I think we've really seen that increase. And thankfully, there's a lot of producers here in the area raising what is probably the best beef anywhere in the country in a lot of respects. It's at least in the most demand if you look at prices paid for cattle that come out of our area. So we're raising in this area of Wyoming what people want, and that's high quality, really good tasting meat, and they know where it comes from. So it's neat when you can see that happen because there's it's identifiable and really the issue of source verification, I guess, just takes care of itself at that point in time.
Well, and not only that, you're supporting your neighbor, and you're also supporting another local business with your local processors, and
exactly.
it's one big circle.
Exactly.
Everybody, it all has to work together for it. You can't lose one of those cogs.
Yeah, well, it used to be that way. I mean, if you look back, I remember growing up in Sheridan, we had Sheridan meats, and the cattle. The corn was processed. All the grains were grown here locally, run through our local mills, and people would buy the corn and the grain and the hay and feed it to the cattle, and the cattle would come into town and go to Sheridan Meats, and then they would get sold through one of the grocery stores. So definitely full circle and fully integrated, and those were things are definitely different.
They are. Yes, they are. So I know that we had actually invited Nate Kane to be on here as well. And Nate is one of your young, I'm not sure what you guys call it, your young stock growers representatives?
Yeah, there's a youth group, and they're not like he's young. He's a lot younger than me, but they're just they're the up and comer. They're the next generation of leaders in the industry and particularly in this organization, and just his efforts are to try to create awareness amongst his contemporaries and those beneath him who it's educational as well. It's informative. It's trying to develop those leadership and that participation in the organization. And I think it's challenging now because you know how it is. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it's in your church or whether it's your local, whatever it is, organization. But membership is tough. And, people always think, well, it's getting handled. Why do I need to be a member? Or I'll pay my dues. And what do I need to really worry about? And that's great if you want to just pay your dues. But really, we need people's voice. And it's important to have people there at the table when decisions are being made. And thankfully, Nate is one of those guys that's there trying to promote that involvement and that engagement and to get younger than me, for sure, involved and let them know that they do have a voice and that there's and if you want changes, this is a great place to do it.
Well, and the Kane family is kind of like your family, has been involved with this for a lot of years, many, many years.
Yeah.
In the years that you've been involved, have you seen a decline in membership, or are we starting to have growth, or is it kind of maintained?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the trends are probably typical of a lot of organizations. They haven't been going up like we would like them to, and in some respects they're maybe flat to negative. It just depends on the year. But yeah, you're right. Going back to the Canes, I mean, what talk about great leadership and participation and engagement. I mean, they've got plenty to do at home, and they have a full-time job running their ranch now. I know, but they take the time to stay involved in organizations like this, and it's an effort, and it takes commitment and it takes sacrifice because somebody's got to stay home and take care of things. And they know all too well what that's about. But they also recognize that if it's not, that spirit of independence and responsibility, but there also has to be a sense of accountability too. If we want things to be the way we want them, then we have to engage and use an organization like Stock Growers as that platform. Whether you agree with everything or not, I mean, there's no pledge of allegiance to the organization's whatever positions they have on a. We encourage all participation in all debate.
I do remember my grandfather and Chaz Kane having some heated discussions at different times.
What a novel thought in this country to have heated discussion, right?
Still friends at the end of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But they could
probably
have
better friends.
Yeah,
and more respect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I sometimes I wonder where that went.
Yeah. Well, I think it still exists. It's just I think we need to keep it going, and it's just what you're doing here with your show and just keeping people engaged and informed. I think is really important because otherwise it can just get lost in the noise of whatever's on our cell phone and pinging us at the moment. So.
Well, I know that before we started, you had kind of talked about some of the different committees and things that you have. Yeah. So do you want to touch on some of those?
Yeah, there's a lot. I have to look at them all, but there's public lands, there's brand, there's I'll have to look here. But yeah, there's well, let me just tell you some of the directives, I guess, are the areas that we focus on. We talked about them earlier, but there's economic, there's legislative and regulatory, there's judicial, environmental, custom, and cultural, which sounds a little different, but it's really just about that essence, that the family, that the importance of who we are and why we do this. Membership obviously is an area, and then communication and outreach. So within all those areas, there's various committees that function, and we have committee heads that run those, and the meeting that we have coming up in December, it's our annual convention that's held in Casper every year. Usually that first. It starts on the 8th of December this year and runs for 3 days. And the first day is normally dedicated to educational opportunities for seminars and more just bringing in speakers from the extension service here in Wyoming, whether it's on grasslands or grazing practices or genetic testing, just whatever. It's going to be there. And then the next day are more business meetings, and then the third day is normally just a business meeting. And there's also an awards dinner with an auction that we use for fundraising. But it's a nice time, as you know. It's sometimes a rancher's way of going on vacation. So it's they're usually a good time to see your neighbor that maybe live across the state, but you're quite good friends with and have a good connection with. So,
and a trade show, I think I saw.
Yep, there's a good trade show.
Man. Yep, that gets me every time.
Lots of nice stuff to find at the trade show, right?
Yeah, you see, you don't have to go to Vegas during the NFR to go to Cowboy Christmas shopping. You can just go to Casper to the convention and go to the trade show.
Well, and it's kind of on the way, so you might as well just stop there. And take a couple days on your way before going to Las Vegas. Exactly.
Be a part of change.
That's exactly. Or be affected, and I guess you don't have much to. If you're not at the table, then you're going to be. I don't remember what the exact saying is, but you want to be the one sitting at the table, not the one getting served up. So,
Well, and something I saw when I was looking at your guys' Facebook page, because you guys have a website and a Facebook page, was that there's an opportunity for some college students to earn a scholarship to be able to attend.
yeah, there's and some of this stuff is probably I'm not as up on it, Liz, but yeah, you're right. There's all kinds of scholarship opportunities and just conduits for various avenues into any of these areas that we've talked about that we focus on. I mean, there's connections that come together in Casper or at the other meetings that or just through the network of people. And yeah, so those scholarships are really an opportunity for youth to get involved and to do so without really any cost. So
Well, and to meet leaders and to be just start that in process of being involved.
that's right. Yeah, it's I think the opportunity is there. It's just we need thankfully people like yourself are helping us to get the word out a little bit. So.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like I said, I've been wanting to do it for a while, and then, everything happens, gets in the way, and I got FFA kids wanting to come in and 4-H kids, and I can't say no to those kids.
When I look at our membership roles, and this is just me my business is in real estate, obviously, but I'm also, we have livestock production and we're still involved in that. But I look at our membership roles with the organization, and then I look at all the ranchers and all the people doing business in this state, and I sometimes question, I'm like, why are there's some significant ranches that aren't involved and they're and should be because they're affected one way or another, and I think that. It's just unfortunately these issues that we're dealing with, whatever they may be. I mean, the big one a couple of years ago, and it's still on the table, was the Rock Springs allotment. They were redoing the allotment plans for the Rock Springs grazing allotment, and it was a huge deal. So the changes that were being proposed. Had been planned on for, I think it went back almost 10 years. There had been dialogue and there had been conversations going on between the local BLM people and the stakeholders. And they had a pretty good plan and how they were going to implement when the plan was supposed to renew. And then all of a sudden out of left field, and it was left in terms of going back to Washington, D.C., that administration at the time disposed some really really egregious changes that restricted things that just didn't make sense, and I mean basically make it roadless, make it so nobody could drive through it. But the stock growers, was at the table, and really pushing hard to try to push back and make and not allow that to happen. And thankfully it didn't happen. And some of those changes, well, the most egregious are no longer there. So, and then there's corner crossing. I mean, we all know about that. I mean, we took a position. It was mainly just from supporting a judicial position on the matter. And that didn't go our way the way we liked, but we were there. There's issues right now that pertaining to trespass issues related to utility companies and stuff, whether power lines and getting access to whether somebody wants to put in a solar farm or a wind farm, and getting power lines across certain lands that may be private property. So how is that addressed? So those are all issues that it's helpful to have a voice and have somebody, that you can call, and or maybe it's just brand. Wyoming has some really good brand laws, and they're very well respected. And how do you? Is that enough when it comes to mandatory proposals for identification. At this point, I think it is. But if somebody chooses to have electronic ID, that's great. If they want to do that, perfect. But we're protected right now with some of the issues. But just having that leadership, I think there is I don't know what it would be like without them. I think there'd be a lot of issues. There'd be a lot of legislators sitting down there when they're in session in Cheyenne, wondering how they should vote, and there would be probably votes taken that would be very uninformed and wouldn't be in the direction of what we want as producers.
Could definitely hurt us instead of help us.
I would think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Making plans for building a new barn, shop, or commercial building? Don't do any planning without a call to Sheridan's premier post-frame building and homes builder, True Built Builders, online at truebuiltbuilders.com. Yeah. What are some of the issues that in our area that you guys as stock growers deal with, especially you as being the regional vice president? What are some of the things here locally that come up?
In fairness, there haven't been a lot that have come up. I think they're more, whatever, it seems like the issues that are here are typically, the same across the state.
Okay.
So nothing, and I can't speak to anything specific, but I would hope that somebody would. I mean, if there is an issue, and that's, again, we're here to represent the area. My area is basically the northeast quadrant of Wyoming at Sheridan County, Weston, Crook, and Campbell.
Okay.
And so they're just, if there is an issue, I'd want to know about it and be able to help coordinate that communication or get somebody to help. I think the leases pertaining to Forest Service, whether it's here in the Bighorn Mountains or in the forests, the national grasslands, or even in the BLM leases, they're all really, we don't deal with them as much here necessarily as you would in western Wyoming, but we certainly do. There are a lot of producers that are affected by the policies of the Forest Service, and so oftentimes those are issues that come up. But nothing that I can think of right now, at least off the cuff.
We're all playing nice together right now.
Yeah, right. Well, but I think there's always something, and
that's what you guys are here for.
Yeah, and I think back to my time and when I've been more or less engaged in the industry since it goes back to, all the way early '90s, and coming out of college, and I think it was in 1993 the plan was to at least it was through Bruce Babbitt and the Department of Interior. The call, I think, that was cattle free by 93. They were going to get all the cattle off public lands, and there was a huge push by those groups to get the cattle off, and there were some. In some respects, they did in Arizona, but thanks to the efforts legislatively, particularly with our senator at the time, I think he was retired, but Malcolm Wallop and others, they worked very hard and alongside the stock growers to really push back on some of those issues, and interestingly enough, those issues they haven't gone away. They're still there. And it's just a constant reoccurring battle that needs to occur, because what comes to mind for me is that these battles, there's never going to be a time where they're won. We just have to keep fighting. And the day that they are won, it's because we quit fighting, and the only reason they haven't been won yet is because we still fight. They've got more money, they've got more ability, but we have a powerful voice, and we have individuals who can still use that voice in this country, and I just want them to do that. and to be involved and to participate.
Well, I know we've covered quite a bit, but what else would you like to tell us about the Wyoming Stock Growers Association?
Well, I think the big message today is to get involved, and it really doesn't cost very much. I mean, everything adds up. I get it. There's costs and there's time, and I know that people don't have time. I mean, I'm one of them, but we have to take the time. I mean, to the very organization that provides our livelihood, that creates wealth in our communities. We were talking about it earlier. I mean, the thing that I appreciate so much about cattle and livestock producers is we're creating dollars that didn't exist before. They're literally creating them, and out of grass and water and sunlight, and that's a neat thing to do, and that's really just something that I think is there's not a lot of other organizations that can say that, but there's also people that don't think that we ought to be doing that, and we need people to recognize that help is needed in these organizations, and we need, and again, there may be people that just don't like decisions that have been made by the stock growers or whatever organization it is, and don't align, and that's fine. But at some point, the only way to affect change is to get involved, and we really could use that support. And so, gosh, whether you're just a business in town, and there are a lot who do support it. There are a lot of businesses in the various communities around this state who are great supporters, but we could always use more. And I think, like you were saying earlier, those dollars that are created, that are spent downtown, somebody may think that they have nothing to do with agriculture, but they do. And it's one of the big drivers of our economy in this state.
I've always said that, I can remember growing up, the coal mines were such a huge industry here, but the cattle were here before, and they're still here. Yep.
And what else is going to eat that grass?
Exactly.
Whether it's cattle or sheep or any ruminant, there's only one that can turn it into a edible protein like beef or lamb as well. I mean, they're I eat them both, but it's but they're vital to the sustainability and the health of our rangelands. And it's wonderful to see the success that cattle ranchers are achieving these days with these prices, but it's well deserved and it's well earned. And it's been a long time. Yeah, that's right. And people, and it's paying off. I mean, I think that the checkoff you asked earlier about controversial issues, that's another issue that is always controversial. And do we need it, or why should we pay that, or what? And I get it. I'm not here to say that those aren't valid points, but I remember back in the 90s when that was really got started. It was during tough times, and the awareness and the education that was in the campaigns that checkoff funded helped create. Hopefully, in part, I know that there's just pure economic reasons right now for a lot of the prices, but the fact is, people they don't have to eat beef, and they could go eat something cheaper, but they're choosing to eat beef right now, and which is a wonderful position to be in, because everybody may say the prices are high, but there's cheaper sources of protein out there than beef, and people are paying for it. So we have to be careful of that, and we don't want to push people out of the market. But right now, I think it's a good time, and I think we're reaping, like you said, some of those rewards of the campaigns, the publicity, the work that's being done to promote the nutritional value of beef. Well, who doesn't remember the beef it's what for dinner and the jingle commercial? I mean, I still remember it. Yep, it just replayed in my mind. Exactly. You said that, Liz. That was part of that. Yep. That promotion and that beef checkoff, and that it's a memory that you have. And like I said, who doesn't remember that if you were in that era? Yeah, there's some that probably don't because they're a little younger.
There are.
But it's those were tough times. And 70, 90 cent dollar calves were that people struggled because other costs had equally gone up, and to that point, costs are still going up. So
well, and I think that there's people consumers who, God love them, they just don't understand that the input cost for the ranchers has gone up.
Yeah.
I mean, fertilizer for your fields has tripled. The farmers, but they're still getting the same price on wheat and corn that they got 10 years ago.
Right.
But the input costs have went up.
That's right.
Again, full circle.
Yep.
But and it's not, the rancher's not the one who's been reaping the rewards off of this, And again, I think that there's just some education pieces that need to be, not that people don't want to know, they just have never been educated on how all that works, that it's not the rancher that sets the price in the grocery store.
That's right.
He gets what he gets when the calves get on the truck or you take them to the sale barn.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely, we're in a commodity business, and so effectively are a price taker. Although there's programs and there's people that have with the grid systems and the various private labeling type beef companies that are out there. Certainly, there's opportunities for some premiums. But yeah, the base price is it's basically like any other commodity. It exists because of the supply demand issues, the economic issues.
Well, you were talking about membership, so I guess I should ask.
Yep.
For someone like Stuart and I mean, we both grew up in the ranching industry, and as times change and things happen, we only have 20, 25 head of cattle. Is there a spot for us as part of the stock growers, or is this for larger ranches? What does your guys' membership look like?
Yeah, I don't have, I think you brought up a really good point, Liz. I think there's a place for whether you own one animal. The only requirement, I think, as a producer member is that you own a cow.
Okay.
And you don't have to own, and you have to own one at least.
Okay.
So and then there's different brackets for cost, but I think it's $150 a year for somebody under a certain level, and I forget what the cutoff was for the number, but it's not very. And even if you own over 500, I don't think it's. I think it may be around $1,000 now a year.
Okay.
So it's we try to. The point of the membership fees isn't to try to make money on those. It's just to serve the needs of the organization itself and operationally, and to pay for staff and somebody who can do our lobbying and be that executive vice president. And so, yeah, I think to me, it's very affordable. And it's something that I feel like is money well spent. Because honestly, I shouldn't say this, but whether you spend it or not, you're still getting the benefit of what the stock growers is doing. So it's not like it's you have to be a member of an organization to get the specific premiums,
Right.
or whatever they are, that only stock growers get to the benefits of those private property rights. Everybody benefits from the advocacy that we do on issues that we feel matters. But at the end of the day, all that'll go away if there's nobody left to pay the bill.
So I guess to recap, the small producer is just as important as the large producer to be a part of this,
I think,
and to help with that support for the organization.
Absolutely. Everybody gets one vote. And just because you have more cattle doesn't mean you get more of a vote if you show up there. So yeah, your voice is very powerful as a smaller producer. And but it's essential. I think whether you have one or 20 or 1,000 or more, it's just it's it's welcomed. And honestly, if you look at the statistics nationally of cow herds, most of the cattle in this country are in herds of less than 50 or less. I think. I think the bulk of cattle come out of herds, a smaller cow herd size. So, getting that that message out to everybody is important.
Well, whether we like to face it or not, the big ranches are just not there anymore.
Right.
A lot of them have been sold off. Families have had to for different reasons.
Right.
They've been split up into smaller, or they've just been sold off, and it's unfortunate. But at least there's people with the small herds that are still wanting to be a part of it as best they can.
Yeah, and if they whatever we can do as an organization to preserve that opportunity, I think is what we're trying to do, and make it where agriculture and raising cattle is still fundamental. It's just foundational, maybe is a better word to put it, for this state and what it represents. And I can't think of a more iconic representation of who we are as a people out here than the rancher. And we have to preserve that. We have to, and I'm not the one that just wears a hat, on when they're here visiting the ranch, but and they're included as well. I don't mean to say that they're not, but I'm just saying the ones that are here all the time, day to day, making their living. But it's all important, and we all have a role to play in preserving this industry. And whether it's at FFA, whether it's, I know you're got kids coming in after this to talk. I mean, that's just wonderful that these organizations still exist in the schools, and they too should be supported, and from a community standpoint, because kids need to know that it's okay to be in agriculture. There's so many opportunities, that aren't just on the ranch, but affect the ranch, that are just amazing. What's going on in the industry from genetic research and predictability and just the marketing and how you use all that. It's really pretty remarkable. It's a good time to be involved in the organization.
Well, who would have thought when I was in FFA in the 90s that I would now have a podcast talking about the ag issues in our county? I did not predict that one.
No, but you obviously are well suited for the role. So I don't think any of us really predict anything that's going to happen. We just kind of we try to do our best every day, right, and do what we believe in. And I think obviously that's what you're doing. And there's so many good people around this state that have great ideas, and they're doing so much good and have good operations, and it'd just be such a great thing to have them involved, and to see them at these meetings, and to see a full rooms and vigorous and if needed, heated debate on issues, but for everybody to walk out of that room at some point in pushing in the same direction, understanding that we have a common ally and we have common enemies, so to speak. And I don't say that lightly. I mean, there truly are groups that don't want us in doing what we're doing, and unless we stay engaged, we're susceptible to them winning.
Well, if someone wants to be a member, go to the website.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And the winter convention is coming up December 8th through the 10th in Casper.
Yep.
And you can register online for that as well on the website?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. If you got any questions, the website is probably the best. And you probably ask me what the actual website address is.
I just Googled Wyoming Stock
There you
Growers
go.
and it popped
It'll
up.
come right up. So thank you, Google.
Yes.
So, but yeah, I would love to see you in Casper, or just call me if you got some questions, and we can talk about it
Okay.
offline.
Well, Galen, thank you so much for
Yeah.
taking the time to be here today. I really appreciate it. It was very informative. Like I said, I grew up here and still had questions, so it was awesome.
Me too.
Oh,
So
okay.
I don't have all the answers.
Okay.
So that's in the day we think we do, I guess it won't be much use anymore. So
You know, I asked my dad one time, I said, Dad, do you think you know all there is about training horses? And he said, nope. He said, every time I train a new horse, I learn something new. And he said, the day I think I know it all is the day I need to quit.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Your dad was a wise man. So that applies to everything.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, well, again, thank you for being here. We'll definitely have you back. Hope I might have to come check out that convention and trade show.
I would welcome you there. There's more to be seen there than just business. Lots of fun too. So
Great. Well, again, thank you. They can get a hold of you.
thank you.
Yes.
We appreciate
And
it.
you bet. And again, thank you to our sponsors, Heartland Kubota and True Built Builders, who are great sponsors of the agriculture lifestyle.
That's for
with,
sure.
with everything.
Yep.
We appreciate them. And for more news, sports, and podcasts, check out SheridanMedia.com. And don't forget to enter the Beef Up the Holidays sweepstakes on SheridanMedia.com.